All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua. Looks like my PC clock might be a little bit delayed here. It's showing on my PC it's 12:57, but on other things here I have around me, it's telling me it's promptly 1. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're here to talk about tracking credit card purchases in Church Windows accounting today. We're going to work together till about 20 minutes after 1 Eastern time. I'm going to wrap up what I have to cover by no later than 20 after, maybe before, depending on how quickly the topic goes. And then I'll certainly be happy to see what I can't do to answer questions for folks here. If you've not attended a webinar event, please use the little red arrow at the top of the sidebar there to minimize the webinar control panel. It just allows you to get it out of the way if you're using a single monitor. Or if you have a dual monitor set up, just go ahead and drag that out to your second desktop. If you have questions for me, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel there. It's just me today. I don't have anybody answering questions. There are a lot more of you than there are of me. I will do my best to keep an eye on those questions. And if I don't get a chance to answer them during the event, I will certainly answer those or try my best to answer those at the end. Please keep the questions topical. Just about credit card purchases and the topic at hand. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is that the basis for the webinar event, while other events are usually taken from our workbooks, this particular event is not. So we're going to go to the Church Windows support blog page here. And then we're going to go into search for, and we're going to type in credit card. And then I click on that. It says Counting, Tracking Credit Card Purchases. That was released back in 2013, this document, but the fundamental setup and recording of credit card purchases in accounting has not changed between 2013 and 16. So it's done exactly the same way. If we click on that, you can actually review it here, or you can click the track, view or print PDF to actually open the document and print that. But that's the document I'm using as the basis for our event today, okay? So you may want to go at some point back there and print that out. All right. So there are a couple different ways to track credit cards, but I'm going to go over the one that is most commonly used in the software, where we have to keep in mind how our cash account or our bank account is affected for bank reconciliation purposes. So what most users will do is they'll go into manage accounts and into their chart of accounts, and they will set up a specific payee or liability called whatever their credit card for their particular credit card company. In this case, ours is called Visa Chase Bank, so it's a Chase Bank Visa card. Okay. It's like any other payee or vendor in our chart of accounts. We credit them for our bills, and we debit them as our payments for our payment transactions. Okay? So we're going to go through in detail how we might record a recent credit card statement transaction that we have here, a credit card statement, in order to get them paid. So the first thing is, if you don't already have the vendor payee set up or the liability, go into your chart of accounts and add that, either by doing it under Manage Accounts or under Manage Accounts at the top left and Accounts Plus Minus. Not Accounts Receivable, Josh. Manage Accounts, Accounts Plus Minus, and again, you can either go to Accounts Payable Vendors here in the upper left corner, Accounts Payable / Vendors, or just to the left of that, Liabilities. They're all categorized as monies we owe under liabilities. Okay? We just need to make sure that they are set up there as either a liability or a vendor. Okay? The next step would be, again, we normally just go into enter bills just like we do with any other vendor. Okay? Now this is where the detail comes into play here in terms of how you record these entries. So let's say we've got a transaction on October 18th, and I would enter an invoice number or due date if I had it. In this case, we're going to choose Chase Bank Visa. They are who we're paying out of our cash account when we go to pay the bill. Okay? So here under my transactions, I'm going to type in Best Buy. Okay, my transaction comments are common to all portions of the entry. Then down here under my expense account, we're going to choose office expense, and we're going to enter the amount here. Let's say $625.31, and then we're going to go over to our line item comments to the right of that, and we're going to type in new computer. We bought a new computer on our credit card. Then I either hit tab or click the plus sign, and when the account moves down, on that same day when we were in there, we purchased a year's worth of Geek Squad service. So we're going to call this one now miscellaneous office expenses, and we're going to type in the amount that was charged on that credit card for Geek Squad. And again, I'm going to type in in my line item comments what the actual purchase was for. Okay, so my transactions or comments are telling me which company I used my credit card at and where I used my credit card, and my line item expenses tell me what I purchased for each expense. We would simply click Done, Add to Batch, and then I would simply go up and I would choose the next payee or charge that showed up on that particular month's statement. So let's say I then had further purchases on the 28th at, say, again, I would enter an invoice number or due date. Same thing, I'm not changing my vendor or payee because, again, I'm writing my check out of my cash account to pay Chase Bank. So in this case, I'm going to write my next one as were purchases made at Target on the Visa card. Same thing, the process starts over, and I simply choose my expense accounts, entering the amounts of each one of those expenses, and then entering under my line item comments what I purchased. So here I say, we'll say we purchased some cleaning supplies. Tab over, we're going to choose office expenses. We purchased some paper. Entering again comments. And the process just continues ad nauseum until I've entered all of the expenses for Chase Bank Visa during the respective statement period. Okay, so then once I choose here, we'll put in like baby wipes. Okay, and this is all, these types of things are also detailed in the actual document that I pointed to you on the website as well. So again, if I had more charges on here in the month of October, I would definitely go in and continue to post those in exactly the same way. Okay. Then when I click Done, Add to Batch, let's say I had no more payments, no more bills for my Chase Bank Visa billing cycle in the month of October, I would either click Post, or if I'm ready to pay the bill, choose Post and Pay these bills. If you're working on a cash basis, that will most likely be what you choose. If you're wanting to enter your Chase Bank Visa or your credit card transactions today but not pay them till next week, you probably would just choose Post. The bills are still going to show as outstanding whether you choose Post or Post and Pay until you pay them. So we're going to say assume we're living on a cash basis here, so we're going to choose Post and Pay these bills. And then it pops up and says, hey, here's my transaction numbers. Would I like to print it? So we're going to click yes on that. And one of the most important things here is that we want to make sure that those line item and transaction comments are added or showing on the report. And yeah, there might be certain information fields you choose not to include on this report. Take off anything that you're not thinking you need. We didn't enter any invoice numbers or due dates, so in this case for ours it would just be space occupying the report on the report and printing that was unnecessary. And then I would simply click on Print. So here we notice that this report now shows, when it's run by those particular bills, that for those that were charged to all of my expense accounts, shows my transaction comments for where I made my purchases, and my line item comments clearly show what I purchased using the card. Okay, so then I would send this to my printer like I would normally for record keeping purposes, and then when I close, it simply then opens up our pay bills window with this vendor, in this case Chase Bank Visa, pre-selected. It simply puts the last date of the most recent bill on there as the date occurred. So in this case 10/28, but if I choose I can change that. Notice it does have the separate bills that I've recorded to them with, again, the transaction comments for who where the purchases were made. Again, I have to make sure that my asset account is the account from which Chase Bank will be paid, and my payment method. If I'm producing a computer-prepared check, of course, I would choose computer check, or if I'm paying them online, I would simply change that payment method to EFT. Yes, I still need to go online and record that transaction, from my checking account as part of my bill pay services or whatever I do monthly to pay Chase Bank. But I can certainly put a there, and I certainly might want to come in here and go, okay, go into my insert here and choose, and here's all of the bills that are part of this that I may want to be able to append those bills comments to my payment. So then when I click OK on that, it will show over here in my transaction comments, and those comments, of course, will then print on my check that I send to Chase Bank. There might be other bills or other payments in here if necessary, okay? But in this case, this is the one bill we're paying today. So again, if you're not ready to print the check, you might just choose post. But in this case, we are. So we're going to choose post and print checks. Again, it's asking us, do we want to print a list of our payment transactions that we've just posted? So again, there's just one transaction on this report, but it should still include all of my comments that I copied from the bill. Okay? Once I've printed that, I would simply close out, cancel out of my payment transaction window. It then posts the payment. It takes a few seconds to do that. It now opens up my print checks, assign check numbers window here, or my check printing screen. And then simply once I enter my starting check number with check stock in the printer, it opens up here and it shows clearly under my comments who I paid and what I purchased. Okay? And it is separated by, in that order. So right here it even shows on the stub down here at the bottom as well. Let me zoom in on that a little bit and let's see. Sometimes those are really condensed in order to be able to, there's only so much real estate on the actual stubs themselves. So right here shows what they were for with my desired comments that I've entered and the amounts. And it would, of course, include any invoice numbers if I had entered some for them. Okay. Then I would simply send that to my check, my printer, to ensuring there's check stock in my printer, and print those out. Okay. So yeah, I can also run this report for Chase Bank with comments, like through my transaction journal if I want to see what I've paid them on a monthly basis. So we would also go up to, maybe up to something like reports, transaction, transaction journal. Same type of flexibility here that I have when printing those under my account here. I might just choose Chase Bank Visa, then again checking my columns, ensuring that all of the columns that I want are there, specifically comments, okay, both transaction and line item, and I would click print, and those and all of the details of those particular, and I have to check the show other details in transaction too, because when I'm limiting it to just Chase Bank, I am saying without checking that show other details is I only want to see the side of the entry that affected my vendor. If I check show other details, it will show the actual expense accounts there. Okay. A common, after about, we're about 14 minutes in here, folks. So there is time that warrants that. That's the most common method way, that credit card purchases are tracked. The other way that and this isn't covered in the document that I've pointed you to on the blog page, is, folks will frequently call us and they'll go, well, I want to track the payment method that I used my credit cards at under when I pay my bills. Okay, right here we've got an option under our payment method called credit card. Okay, well, the confusion that comes with that is when I pay my bill here, I have to choose an asset account. Okay, so right now when I'm going to Target or Best Buy and making my purchase, I'm not affecting my cash account. That's why I'm putting it onto my credit card, is I don't want to affect cash yet. I want to be able to put that onto a monthly credit card statement and then deal with it at the end of the month, okay, when I receive my credit card statement. So right here, this requires that we choose an actual asset account. So we can't choose our Huntington Bank checking or our savings or our money market account, because when I'm making that purchase at one of those one of those companies or retail stores, I'm not affecting my cash account. Only when I pay my credit card company is that occurring. So if you do want to record your payments where you're using your credit card with the credit payment method as credit card, you have to actually set up in your chart of accounts a receivable account for your credit card company. So we would have to go into our chart of accounts here and go to our tree view and choose add new asset, and we would call this, credit card, whatever you're wanting, whatever you would want it to be, credit card receivable or something. Whoops, I can't type today. Okay, and then you would type in an account number, and we'll make that 135,000. Goes into total assets for now, and there it is. Okay, so I would enter the bill just like I would normally, and then when I turn around and pay the bill, instead of choosing my checking account, I would choose my credit card receivable asset account, and then I would post all of those choosing credit card as my payment method. Okay, then when that month's when I've posted all of those, the statement balances from that particular month, and I'm ready to actually write the check to the credit card company, I would simply go up to transactions here in the upper left, go up to transfer, and simply post a transfer from my credit card receivable over to my over to my cash account. Okay, to affect cash. That's the only other way to do it, is that we've got to be able to go in and record those payment transactions. There's no other way, because again, the payment method requires a cash account or an asset account be affected with regards to the payment. So that's the only way to do that. Okay. Generally, it's a lot more convoluted to do it the second way, so that's why we encourage you to look at the first way of doing it. Just simply be treating your credit card as you would any other vendor. And especially since we can track those comments to show what we purchased and where we purchased those through those comments. Now, one of the things about it is, of course, we can't search comments. So if we go up to, say, transactions and browse here, I cannot search comments using my filter and sort. So you would just be able to run it by a certain vendor account or what have you. So yeah, they're not searchable. I can't go through my comments in accounting and search for comments that have the word Target or Best Buy or something in those. But they can certainly be displayed when limited by a particular vendor or an account per se. Okay, but that's it, folks. That's what I was here to cover. So we're a couple minutes early. Kind of wrapping this up. Let's see what questions we've got here. Would a gift card that the church purchased be done the same? Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be, I mean, that's certainly yes. Treating, again, you would treat the vendor where cash was affected. That's the thing is, Dale, you've got to keep in mind, how is cash being affected? Because every time I go to pay bills, yeah, I would just go to enter bills, enter the vendor or payee that I had made the purchase of the gift card from, and again, and record it accordingly as credit card or something on that. Yep, I think so. I mean, I don't think there's really much difference between that. Yep, I would agree. You would need to set up either a separate asset account to receive those amounts, or just set up the vendor where the gift card was used. Again, it's always about how cash is being affected. That's really what determines that. Enter bills is debiting the expense and crediting the vendor. Paying bills is debiting the vendor and crediting a cash account of some kind. So that might be a question more that we discuss, in terms of about gift card. If you're talking about, are you purchasing the gift card or using it? That's really the question I have about it. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Maybe sometimes they are kind of lengthy for folks to type in. All right, I've not seen anything else pop in here. A recording of this webinar will be released on our YouTube channel by no later than 5 p.m. Eastern Time this Friday, so you can certainly go back and revisit it then. It looks like folks are diving out pretty quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everybody. We hope it's been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you at another Church Windows webinar event. All right. Thank you all so much. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.